All right, welcome back. Welcome back. It's Made and Missed. We're going to get into Anthony's bet recap for week 3. His top
That's
6
right.
most confident bets. Had a pretty good week, right?
Yes, we bounced right back at it, and that's what we like to see here. Starting with the Thursday night game where I took Cleveland -5 against Pittsburgh, and that turned out to be a pretty good win. Now, it was a win before that garbage time, end of the no time left, falling on the ball in the end zone, 6 points that messed up the over-under here. But I did take Cleveland -5, and that was a good win. So check mark for me
Check
on
mark
the
for that
Thursday
one.
night game.
Yep.
And
We're
I'm
talking
3
the
and 0
spread in
so
this.
far. 3 and 0 so far on the Thursday night games.
Hey,
That's great.
that's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and now
Not easy.
Yeah, exactly. And so to start the week off on the right foot once again. And then we get into my pick 6 for week 3, starting with the Falcons +2 against Seattle. I did say I thought they would get their first win here, and they did. And that is an easy check mark again for me. Win, money in the bank. There we go. It's Falcons were able to hold on in a little bit of a back and forth game and get their first win, but it, well within with getting the points. I thought that was an easy bet.
Seattle was a little more aggressive in that game, but it just wasn't enough. Atlanta gets the win there.
Yep. So that brings us to number 5, which was Baltimore -2.5 at New England. And this again was a W for me. So -2.5. They won by over 10 points. I expected that to happen. So here again is a nice green check. We're in the money. Good start. 3 for 3 so far. And the Baltimore, I just felt like they were the better team overall, even going into New England. The way that offense looks, Lamar Jackson looks like an MVP. And yeah, easy handling business there against New England.
Yeah, looks good. And yeah, Baltimore coming through for you. We'll see what Mac Jones looks like moving forward, but I would not bet against Lamar Jackson right now.
That's right. So that brings us to my number 4 pick, which was Buffalo -6 at Miami. And as you well know, Miami came out victorious in this one. So this was not a victory. However, I do want to use this as a chance to give an example of when I say at the end of my pick 6, make sure you're keeping track of things like weather and injuries, and because those things can change ultimately your bet come time to lay it down on game day. And this was one of those situations where when I made the pick, we were unaware of all of the people on the defense who were going to be out for Buffalo, right? And that could sway your mind one way or another. If that's the case, I would probably avoid it. Just like in week 1 when we talked about the Bears and San Francisco game, and then all of a sudden that became a slip and slide game where you would probably not expect the same outcome if the weather was clean. So here, although that was the case, this is a miss for me in my made and miss. So I get the red X, unfortunately, here. But that's why you should always key into things like weather and injuries before going into a game with your full bet there.
For sure. So, you never know how it's going to pan out, right? Buffalo clearly the better team, but the scoreboard doesn't always reflect that.
Yeah, and they had plenty of opportunities to win this one. Probably not by 6, though. So that is definitely a miss here. And then we go into my number 3 pick of the week from last week, which was Cincinnati -5 at the Jets. And as we already discussed before, this is a win in my book because Cincinnati went in and proved that they are still a good team, that they can beat up on teams that are not quite at their level, in this case, the Jets. And they won it handedly and start to finish. Good victory, great game for Cincinnati to kind of rebound. And a win in my book. So that's a good green check for me.
That may be the last we've seen of Joe Flacco on the season. I think Zach Wilson is clear to come back this week. So we'll take a look at the Jets moving forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they rebound now with their young quarterback back. And now we move on to my number 2 pick of the week, which was the Rams -3.5 at Arizona, one that Eric and I disagreed on, by the way.
Yes, but Arizona, man.
Ultimately,
I can't get a read on that team. You just can't get a read on.
This is a big green check for me. They won 20-12. They won by 8 points and really held the lead in the game most of the length of the way. So -3.5 was an easy cover there. So another check for me. And then that moves and transitions us to my number 1 bet of the week, which was the Kansas City Chiefs -5.5 at Indy. and Indy pulls out an amazing win here to make that bet a big red X. Not a great game for Kansas City. What a rebound for Indy. I don't think many people saw this coming, the way these two teams were playing coming into this matchup, but ultimately that is an X. That is a loss for me. So if you're looking at the overall record here for the week, including the Thursday night game, that's 5-2 once again. So that's pretty good. We were at 7-7 going in. So this puts us at 12-9 on the season. That is an excellent start to the season, a great rebound. So that's where we want to be. And ultimately, we're trying to go for that 6-0, 7-0 mark. That's what I want to see. We want to win across the board. But we got back into the winning ways. And overall on the season, if you've been following my bets, you're making easy money here. So let's continue to do that for sure.
Yeah, in the Colts game, you just don't know. Like a rookie kick returner and Sky Moore or punt returner fumbles the ball on the 4-yard line. That's why we love football, though, right? Yeah, and from what we've seen and what the evidence that you had, Colts were 0-2. Colts didn't look good. Kansas City's just going through them,
rolling.
But it definitely is a week-to-week league, and you got to pay attention to things like momentum, right? Things like bounce back. I'm a big believer in bounce back teams. Right, so if they have a bad week and they're a decent team, I mean, we've seen terrible teams before, but likely they come back, right? So expect that from the Chiefs this week. All right, let's move on to make of the week, miss of the week. Lots of good options here, as we get every week. But let's start off with your make of the week.
So there was a couple of options to choose from here. But my make of the week has to go to, and I'm forgetting which one I told you at this point because there was so many to choose
from. Just what you talked about with your most confident bet.
That's right, the Colts, because Matt Ryan, right? Matt Ryan is my make of the week because we left him for dead in week 2 after 2 horrible start games for the season. It looked like Matt Ryan's career was kind of over. That what we saw at the end of his time with the Falcons was just an aging quarterback. However, he bounces back in this one, has a couple of touchdowns, continues to carry the Colts to victory, although they capitalized on other opportunities. Wasn't all Matt Ryan, so Indy in general, but a huge win for them. They needed it desperately against a big AFC opponent. So Matt Ryan and the Colts definitely get my make of the week.
All right. Yeah, Colts, that's interesting. Easy make, but really they should have been good to begin with. So not too surprised. I think I even said on the show that don't be surprised if the Colts win this one. But you could say that for anything, I guess. Miss of the week. What do you got, Anthony, for the miss of the week?
Oh, man, you're going to have to remind me again.
49ers, Broncos game.
Oh, my gosh. This game was in prime time on a Sunday night, and I've seen more action in AAA baseball games. I mean, this was pathetic. It was a puntathon, a mistake-a-thon, an embarrassment upon embarrassment with the stepping out of the end zone and throwing a pick six. I mean, neither offense could get it going. I think ultimately it's more embarrassing for the Broncos, given that this was a home game and your fans came out to come to this game. Ultimately, they won, but it's still just a joke of a game. The scoreboard indicates that 10-11, and the whole nation had to have this on Sunday night. Come on, NFL, you can do better than that with your schedule making.
Right, we saw safety, basically a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the Broncos are. I don't know.
Ugly. Yeah, when their offense is struggling. Yeah, so Jimmy G looking like the bad Jimmy G. It was just a clown car would have been, the clown music would have been more entertaining than watching this game for sure.
Yeah, it would have been funny though, because everyone's saying, well, Jimmy G's better than Trey Lance, and we have a shot at the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, and then he comes out, and you're like, are we sure about that?
Brutal.
Are we sure about that? I got it. Jimmy G's good enough, but there's also a reason they want to move on from him, right? Let's not forget. I mean, people get caught up in the man's looks and forget that he's just an average quarterback.
Jimmy G.
He's an elite, model. Just an average quarterback, though. All right, let's move on to make of the week for me. How about Trevor Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
3 touchdowns, no picks. Free agents that come over, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, have good games. The scheme looks good. Trevor Lawrence looked mature. decisive. The Jags are first in scoring percentage. That's the percentage of drives that end in a score. So this is an offensive team, right? And this is what we saw with Doug Peterson coming over. It's what you expect, but we didn't think it'd be this fast, right? You knock off one of our favorite teams, the Chargers, made them look silly, 38-10.
Yeah.
I mean,
great victory
on the road, traveling across the country. I'm not sure how much that impacts it, but definitely a point to bring up that they're on the road there.
That's the type of statement that I've been begging for from Trevor Lawrence, right? I've said that he came in as the Jesus of football and, all this praise, best number 1 pick ever, and hasn't done anything yet. Well, this was the first game where he kind of put his flag in the ground and said, this is who I'm going to be and how I'm going to play. He has to continue to show that that's there. I don't think they necessarily need to make the playoffs this year, win a lot of games. But if he can continue to put up stats like that and have games like that, he's certainly going to show that he was worth all the hype.
Right. Only 1 punt all day long. I mean, against this Chargers defense, I think that is definitely worth mentioning there.
Oh, yeah.
And they are, I'm counting them out now, top 10 in passing offense.
Crazy, yeah.
And let's check their rushing offense.
Oh, they have to be very dominant in run game.
They're 10th. They're 10th in both. So they're 10th in passing offense, 10th in rushing offense.
Pretty good.
Say 10th in Jacksonville, yeah. But that sign is a good offense, right? They're balanced. They're good in both areas. I mean, they've played good teams too, right? So I like the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that is my make of the week. Trevor Lawrence, being an adult, showing why they took him number 1, why he's a franchise quarterback at the age of 15. We're starting to see some of that, right? And it's been exciting. So happy for Jacksonville fans out there, because it looks like you got a guy early in the season. We got to see a little more, but they're not easy to find. Let's go to my miss of the week. We have a new meme for the next 10 years. Mark Sanchez is now retired because we have a butt punt. And, if you watch the game, they're in the end zone. And really, the announcer kept saying they should take a safety, right? You take the safety in the end zone, and you could give the Bills more space, right? They'd have to drive the whole length of the field instead of if you get blocked or something like that. The punt gets blocked. They get the ball,
close. Yeah,
close,
right.
Because you can't punt it as far as you can kick it, right? So they line up and punt the butt. Punt the butt is exactly what they
try
to do the punt, but it ends up going up. I don't even know the player, 41's butt. But really, we really wanted to get into the play before that, which was a play action pass. And there's a minute 30 left around that, and you're trying to run the clock out. So really,
we were shocked at the stadium.
But you got to execute that play for Miami. Like, I get the coach calls it. You're trying to catch the defense off guard. But the fact that they were stopped the clock at a minute 30 or minute 40 and then basically took the safety with the butt punt, the Bills had another shot to win the game. Right? So it's just kind of a breakdown of all phases in that sequence. So
they got lucky there, though.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
It worked out in their favor.
Already some great memes out there, but looking forward to some more.
My favorite was that Mark Sanchez tweeted, "Hey, stay in your lane. Stay out of my lane."
Yeah.
Stay out of my lane.
Now that he's out of the league and he's successful without football, now it's funny.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was so
that
funny.
Was pretty
for him.
good.
Well,
I bet for all of those years. Yeah.
All right. So
pretty good.